Good evening. I'd like to call this Tuesday, June 6, 2017 meeting of Middletown City Council to order. If you please stand and join me in a moment of meditation and the pledge allegiance to the flag. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Camp, would you call the roll, please?
Ms. Bronston? Here. Mr. Bohannon?
Here.
Mr. Moon?
Here.
Mr. Picard?
Here.
Mayor Mulligan?
Here. All right, our first order of business this evening is to recognize MTR Marco. I'd like to invite Mr. Ray McIntosh down to the podium to receive a proclamation. It's always great to be able to recognize some of our local businesses. Their long-term anniversaries here in town, and Marco's celebrating their 50th.
Been a long time.
Been a long time. Goes by quick, doesn't it? Seems like just yesterday, I can imagine. On behalf of City Council, we have this proclamation to present. Whereas MTR has a long history of growth and success. James Martindale started Marco, Inc. in 1967 with 3 employees in a small office in Middletown, Ohio. Marco built a strong customer base providing new components, rebuilds, and repairs to the pulp and paper industry. In 1973, Marco moved to a new facility and its current location on Yankee Road. The new manufacturing facility allowed Marco to expand its product lines, added roll grinding capability, and whereas Marco Inc. continued to add product lines and its commitment to furnish cost-effective alternatives for components and replacement parts. Over the years, this continued growth required numerous building expansions and the addition of various machining and fabricating equipment. In 2002, additional manufacturing space was added with a new 20-ton crane to house new CNC machining. In 2005, MTR Marco purchased Orman's Welding Center and the adjoining property. This acquisition added manufacturing capability as well as a strong customer base in the steel industry. A field service division was established for the paper, steel, and industrial customer base. In 2008, new offices and a new crane were added, which allowed MTR Marco to better serve their customers. In 2016, MTR Marco partnered with Can-Am Machinery to offer rebuild equipment to the USA and Mexico paper mill markets. And whereas MTR Marco has established itself in the world market as a major provider of quality new and rebuilt recycling equipment to the paper industry. MTR Marco is dedicated to providing quality products and services at competitive prices. They value a long-term relationship with their customers over just today's sale. By controlling quality in every phase of manufacturing, MTR Marco offers the lowest possible cost to their customers. And whereas, over the last 50 years, MTR Marco has provided steady and gainful employment to many of our residents and therefore has been an important factor in the Middletown area's economy and continued vitality. Now therefore, I, Lawrence Mulligan, Mayor of the City of Middletown, Counties of Butler and Warren, State of Ohio, do hereby proclaim June 6, 2017 as a day fitting to celebrate and recognize the 50th anniversary of MTR Marco. Congratulations, Ray.
Thank you very much.
Would you like to share a few things what's going on down at Marco?
Well, we're continuing to expand. You can actually trace our roots back to the 1890s. It was Charter Brothers Machine, which is the Charter House right behind us.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
The Martindales were actually the CEO of Charter Brothers and later became CEO and chairman of Black Clawson. We're I'd actually be 4th generation of that, but I'm not related to it.
But you're keeping it going. That's very good. So.
120 years, so quite an accomplishment. All right here in Middletown. So thank you very much for the great job you guys do, and I've known Larry for a long time.
No, appreciate it. Thank you for coming down today. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I'll move on to our agenda, citizens' comments. I've received no cards this evening. That brings city manager reports. Mr. Atkins?
Yes, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I've got several things to go over fairly quickly this evening. The first involves the issuance of a liquor permit for 1308 Yankee Road. 2 members of Council had expressed some potential concerns about that liquor issuance. To protect the city's right to a hearing on that, we went ahead and had to file a request for a hearing on May 22nd. I had the law department take care of that. We can withdraw that request at any time, but that at least protects our options till I had a chance to sit down with you tonight. Section 4303.292 of the Ohio Revised Code outlines the grounds for refusing to issue a permit. Mr. Landon gave you a memorandum while I was off on vacation, I believe, that went through the different parts of that ordinance. It comes down to Section A2. The Division of Liquor Control may refuse to issue any retail permit issued under this chapter if it finds that the place for which the permit is sought is so located with respect to the neighborhood that substantial interference with public decency, sobriety, peace, or good order would result from the issuance of the permit and operation under it by the applicant. Having seen the memo from Mr. Landon and then gone through the ordinance, I'm looking for some input from council or more further questions, concerns as to whether or not we should move forward. If you wanted us to move forward with the hearing, I would have police pull the records from that neighborhood, look at the types of incidents that have been out there. Are they types of disorderly drunkenness, things of that nature? And then we would have to make the case that another permit going in there would add to something that's already a concern and a problem in the neighborhood. I've not gone that far until I had a chance to talk to council, but I'm looking at this time for some input from council as whether we want to keep the hearing and move forward, or whether, having looked at the standard, we're comfortable letting it move forward.
Mr. Atkins, one of those comments was for me. I had a call and a number of conversations with some people in the neighborhood and attending the church on the corner. So I directed an email to question the viability of either keeping the organization from getting that liquor permit or what the procedure was otherwise.
Right.
And since I didn't know, that was the questions that I had. I'm in favor of a hearing myself. Everybody else can speak for themselves. That particular neighborhood is near my mother and other people that I know. Down the street is there are a number of churches, and there is a drive-through on Yankee Road, that direction going west, I guess you would say, going west towards town and towards 8th Avenue. On the other side, going east, would be a drive-through, I think, further up Yankee. And so within that neighborhood on the same street, the concerns of the residents were, was there really a need for a liquor permit to be on the corner in the residential neighborhood where children are playing, where people go to church, and those kinds of questions, so.
Yes, ma'am.
Other comments from council or concerns?
Do we know the hours that the shop that's applying is?
Jim, do you happen to know that? I'm sorry, I do not.
Yeah, I would like to.
I can certainly get those for you.
Yeah,
but
a little more clarification too. I mean, because I understood this to be just retail sales, not open container type sales, right? I mean, this is.
Right, this is
So,
retail.
not a bar
No, it's not a
necessarily,
bar.
so we
Correct.
wouldn't necessarily have people consuming it right there on the premises or anything like that.
Correct.
And then, two, as I drove by and looked at the area, I was a little concerned over the signage limits. I wonder if they're in excess of the zoning requirements for that too. I mean, I'm certainly, on one hand, I want to certainly support the local businesses, and if, again, maybe the hearing's the best way to do it. I don't know if I'd be one to file a formal objection on behalf of council to vote for that, but just certainly hear things, and maybe we can just do that locally with, either a public notice or some sort of local, call outreach by the police department or by your office to do that. But I'd like to have a nice balance between, preserving the image of the neighborhood and meeting the needs of the business too.
Yeah.
Do we have enough time between our next meeting, whenever the hearing would be, for you to go out and find the hours and see what kind of calls are going on in the neighborhood, or do we need to decide this moment?
I don't know when the hearing is scheduled. We can certainly get to work on it quickly. We can probably gather the information fairly quickly as to the number of calls and types of calls in that area. I don't know, I'll have to look at, I have not seen the actual permit, so I don't know what hours they're proposing, but the answer is we can try to do that very quickly if council would like to see that.
The permit doesn't have that.
Yeah, it doesn't have that level of detail in the, because
We might be able to reach out to the
Yeah.
owners and ask those types of questions.
find out what's
that
going on.
to avoid perhaps a problem, they might want to
Yeah.
cooperate with discussing it, so they didn't have to have a hearing.
And you know, in view of what we'll be covering tonight in our legislative pieces, the what-if
Right.
issues and the downtown master plan and those kinds of things, trying to fold all of that together in the master plan for all of the residents of Middletown. So I think it's an appropriate thing right now to address.
And if I hear, what I've heard so far is gather the information that we can from the owner on the type of establishment. We'll look at the zoning on the signage, look at also at the calls and the area of the calls and see if we can gather information within a couple days, get back to council and see if that changes their mind, or if once, you know, maybe it solidifies that we need to go forward with the hearing, that we have preserved our right to do that and it's ready to go. So we will start working in that endeavor, and I'll get the police on gathering the information quickly for us.
Okay.
That's what I needed for tonight on that anyway. Number two, we had also had a couple calls on sidewalks in coordination with the street paving this year. Wanted to go back, I did respond to the one person that I had talked to. It has been the policy of the city to have sidewalks in all subdivisions since 1997. City of Middletown Ordinance Section 120605, which was passed in 1997, does require sidewalks on both sides of all subdivision streets. We have generally enforced this as we come through to make street improvements, because we went so many years without making any street improvements. This is kind of a surprise to people as they go forward, that we're going to make them either repair sidewalks or add sidewalks where they were not existing in the past. It's been the policy, again, for a long time, that as we get these things cleaned up, this is something that's going to be more prevalent, not less prevalent, as we move forward, as we make paving a higher and higher priority and we try to catch up on our paving. These are things that are going to come in front of you. These are the types of complaints and concerns that are going to come in front of you more. The more successful I am in raising revenues and the more paving we can do, the more times you're going to see these types of concerns. So again, there's always the chance there is a ability of council to change that policy. I think they've even waived it in sometime in the recent past with some of the Lefferson, but the policy of the city, and I would certainly support the policy of the city, is we should have well-paved streets with sidewalks and subdivisions. And we are intending to move forward with that tonight with your first piece of legislation that you'll be asking for emergency passage June 20th. So I did want to give you an update. That's not something new that we've done. That's something that's been on the books for a long time. And it's going to be more prevalent as we move forward. Third, and I apologize for being sick at the last council meeting, but I understand that Jennifer Eeke was there to pass out some information on Sawyer's Mill and Ryan Homes and their interest in restarting that subdivision. You've gotten that information. Staff has been up to both Xenia and Amelia to look at the neighborhoods there and the models that are there. I am meeting with zoning and planning tomorrow to look at the plans that they have given us and the changes or variances they may want to try to get to comply with the zoning in that area. I'm looking for feedback on council. The next step for us after we get that together would be to plan something maybe 3 or 4 weeks out, maybe one afternoon at 3:30 or 4 o'clock to end one day, that we would get a bus off our planning commission and city council a chance to drive up to Xenia, walk through the neighborhood, talk to Ryan directly. If we got that far, then we'd have all the pieces together to come back and sit down as a group and say, you've seen the plans, here's the zoning and planning issues, you've seen the neighborhood, is this the right thing for Middletown? Is this the product that we want in Middletown? I can tell you price range wise, it's the range that we are missing, that 150 to 225 range. We are missing that price range in our housing stock. The question is this the right builder? Is this the right area? Is this the right place we would want to move forward? And I think if we get through that next step, you'll have all the information to make an intelligent decision. I would like to move forward and schedule, again, maybe 3 or 4 weeks out. If there's a certain day, and I can have Nadine poll council a little bit, if there's a certain day of the week that we could set aside one late afternoon and, again, maybe leave at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, take a city bus up there and come on back. Is that an okay plan for council?
Yeah, I think there was some general interest in taking a look at that. And I think we were going to try to involve planning commission as well, too. So
Correct.
kind of
We would ask, them to come along too, so that we all are
Yeah.
looking at the same thing, both the plans, the neighborhood as it's been. Because the nice thing about when I went up to Xenia is not only do they have the models, but they have houses that have been there for 10 years. So you can see what that neighborhood looks like after it's been sitting for a while. So it at least gives you a perspective to come back and make some judgments about whether or not we want that in our housing stock in
Yeah.
Middletown. So
I just ask if we get the next meeting date set for the next council meeting, that way we can just adjourn to that meeting rather than call a special meeting of council or anything like that, so we can stay focused on that.
Understood.
Just, make sure we have
that makes sense.
enough of a lead time to have some flexibility there to do that.
That's great. Fourth, I would like to, as we move forward, the item 3 and 4 are related to the new master plan, adopting the what if and the downtown master plan as policy for the city of Middletown. As we're putting these pieces together, we're working towards a new master plan with hopefully a nice comprehensive housing policy, transportation, all of that coming. But we're not going to be there by the time we start on the 2018 budget. So we know we're going to have, unless the bottom drops out with a recession, discretionary income next year to spend on something. I have handed out to council the sheet. We can take 5 minutes and do it now, or I can let you do it after the meeting and turn it into Amy at your discretion. What I'm looking for is literally just a check mark from each of you, high, low, medium priority on these items. I have a presentation at the next meeting at June 20th that if I have the 5 of you, I'll put that into one chart, add some detail to it. My hope is that by the end of that, I have a rough idea what council would like to see in the 2018 budget, where that money would like to go. That gives us a chance when we get into August and the staff starts working on the budget, I can direct Jake to, if it's 50% paving, then we know whatever, if it's $1 million, we know we need 500,000 going to paving. We give you a budget that is consistent with these types of priorities and the discussions we have in June. So again, you can do that right now, and I'll leave it up to you whether you want to spend 5 minutes and hand it in to me and I'll take it, or you can do it after the meeting and hand it in to Amy. And I'd like to have it in the next couple days so that I can start moving forward and getting ready for the June 20th. Does council have any preference? I'm hoping that it's a fairly quick, and this is not down, this is.
Yeah, I don't want to be overly
Yeah,
scientific.
don't
about it.
overthink
I'd
it.
like to give it a little bit of thought rather than just
Yep.
zip through it too quickly. Because, they're all tough choices.
Mm-hmm.
You have public safety, you have paving, you have, quality of life type things on here. So, but I can get it to you this week, I think, for sure.
Maybe have this by Friday. Would that be okay for council? Turn it into Amy, and I'll let Amy collect them and send them down to me. And then, like I said, that'll be kind of the lead into the June 20th. I'm hoping to take about a half an hour, add some more detail to what you're going to give us to talk about the 2018 budget at that time. Finally, and this is literally came up at the end of last week before I left, House Bill 384 was recently passed, as I believe it was on April 30th, by the state of Ohio, allowing a one-time modification to existing TIF legislation in impacted communities. Middletown is considered an impacted community under Ohio law. The legislation allows TIF revenue to be redirected to other supportive urban redevelopment in the municipality. This came about through Polaris and Columbus. They had done a TIF district near the mall. If you're familiar with that area, the area had generated a lot of TIF revenue. They had a neighborhood that was close by that was not in the TIF area. They put this in this bill to allow Polaris to redirect their TIF money to go do redevelopment of streets and sidewalks and urban redevelopment in this nearby neighborhood. However, it's opened up a 60-day window for us, for any impacted community, to be able to do the same thing. We are investigating the feasibility of converting the Green Tree Road TIF into this remote TIF concept. It's a well-performing TIF. It's about halfway through its life cycle. It's the only one of our TIFs that make any sense, that generates enough money to make any sense to look at this. I wanted to notify you that staff is looking very hard into this option and working diligently. We found out about it last Wednesday. We have to have it enacted by June 30th, which means it's going to have to be an emergency reading at the June 20th on the fly. This allows the legal ability to redirect those funds. We're talking about an extensive housing policy over the next year or two. If we can decide what it is that we need to do, theoretically, you could take some of the excess money. Right now, there's $300,000 sitting in that TIF. and take it and redirect it to an urban area downtown, not downtown, but in the south end, that would allow us to start making impactful changes in whatever we think we need to do with our housing in that area, whether it's demolition, renovation, streets, sidewalks, potentially. Keep in mind that all I'm trying to do if we do this is preserve the legal opportunity. You are still gonna have to appropriate money, you're still gonna have to authorize a transfer. This would just give you that opportunity theoretically, and we're still investigating, we're not sure it does what we think it does. But we would be coming. The excerpt from 384, it's an ordinance designed to designate the specific public improvements made and the process being made by a municipal corporation that directly benefit one or more parcels identified in the TIF. A designation, the satisfactory provisions that be made for public improvements of the parcels in the TIF, and in the process, they can change it to another urban redevelopment area. Theoretically, there could be up to $700,000 in the Green Tree TIF. Some of those enterprise zone areas are coming to the end, which means we're going to start collecting property taxes on those, so that money in that TIF will get larger, not smaller. We could use it for our housing stuff in the next 2 years once we get that defined. We are exploring this now. We simply don't know yet if it's a benefit to the community. We will, in the next week or so, figure that out completely. We're working with our outside TIF council. If it looks like it's going to be something that would benefit Middletown, we will get much more information together for you, try to get it in a thing that's easy to understand, get it out to you well before the meeting, let you ask as many questions as I can get answers for. But if it's something that makes sense, it will have to be done on the fly as an emergency on June 20th, because on June 30th, the Polaris option goes away. So, interesting idea, interesting possibility. We don't know yet if it is something that would truly work for us, and if so, whether it would be a benefit for us, even if it would work. But I wanted to let you know that that is out there, and we're working very hard on it and very quickly. Again, the idea would be to preserve that option if it makes sense, so that later down the road, if you or a later council wanted to redesignate those funds to something of a higher need, that we could so do. So, and that's everything I have, Your Honor.
All right. Any questions for Mr. Atkins? Okay. Thank you. That brings us to our consent agenda. Ms. Skank?
For your consideration this evening, we have the approval of the city council minutes from May the 16th, 2017, to confirm personnel appointments of Ronald Colblin, John Dennis, Macklin Bray to the position of maintenance worker, Public Works and Utilities, Street Maintenance, and Charles Anderson to the position of Public Works Superintendent, Department of Public Works and Utilities, and to receive and file board and commission minutes from the Civil Service Commission of March 9th and April 20th, 2017, and the Board of Health minutes.
All right, thank you. Do we have a motion for the approval of the issues and actions as listed on the consent agenda?
So moved.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Ms. Skank, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Bohannon.
Yes.
Mr. Moon.
Yes.
Mr. Picard.
Yes.
Mayor Mulligan.
Yes.
Ms. Bronston.
Yes.
And we have one motion item this evening.
To transfer 3 city-owned parcels, parcel number Q65420300000288, parcel number Q65420300000229, and parcel number Q65420300000230 to Brenda Joyce Perkins McCommons, who is the owner of the property that is conjoined to the parcels located at 1604 Grand Avenue.
Okay, Mr. Atkins, anything to add to the staff report?
No, Your Honor, this is a quirky land issue. The property located at 1604 is divided into 9 parcels. The owner contacted us because she discovered that her 3 front parcels, which are owned by the city of Middletown, actually go through the middle of her house. We went through community revitalization, we went through engineering, we went through public works, and whenever this was done, it was long before anybody that was here. I don't know if we at one time had a right-of-way. I simply don't know. We simply don't have any records as to why we still own these, but we have no municipal use for them. The easiest way seemed to be to deed them over to her. We didn't, frankly, have not maintained them. We've not known that we've had them, frankly, until she brought it to our attention. Recommendation is that we deed them over and let her deal with the issues on those.
Okay. Any questions, Mr. Atkins? All right, I'll entertain a motion to transfer the 3 city-owned properties as listed to Brenda Joyce Perkins McCummins, the owner of 1604 Grand Avenue.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Gank, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Moon?
Yes.
Mr. Picard?
Yes.
Mayor Mulligan?
Yes.
Mr. Bohannon?
Yes.
Ms. Bronston?
Yes.
All right, thank you. That brings us to our council comments this evening. Start with Mr. Picard.
Thank you, Mayor. As most of you know, on May the 26th, I finally married the love of my life after 15 years. And in planning our future together, we plan to move to Maine at some point. And as a result of that, after 7.5 years on council, I've decided that I'm not going to run for re-election this year. And I want to take a moment just to thank Doug and staff for all of your help during my 7.5 years. Thank everybody on council who's been here to help me as well. And to thank the citizens of Middletown for giving me the opportunity. And with that, I'll be here obviously through the end of the year. We're not sure exactly when we're moving to Maine, but it'll be within the next 4 years as I hope to retire. With my birthday having been last May the 28th, I have less than 4 years to go. So the countdown is on.
Congratulations. Best wishes. Mr. Bohannon?
Thank you, Mayor. Would like to congratulate and thank Jerry Lewis for a very well done parade, and also the ceremony at the cemetery was very well performed. That was about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Moon?
I'll echo Mr. Bohannon's comments about Jerry Lewis. Thank you for your efforts on the Memorial Day Parade. Wanted to mention this Thursday at 10:30, Spoken Cycles is going to have their ribbon cutting downtown, another downtown business. Congratulations to them. And the last thing I wanted to mention, last week I had the opportunity, it wasn't quite a ribbon cut, it wasn't quite a groundbreaking, but Cohen announced their new subsidiary, Cobalt. I wanted to congratulate them on that, thank them for their continued investment in Middletown, and just thank them for all the generations and the decades of community involvement and giving back. That's all I have.
Ms. Bronson?
Oh, thank you. I wanted to say congratulations to Dan and Tammy Picard. First time I got to say that. Wish you well in your future and your love life. I wish it to be just wonderful.
Thank you.
So I wanted to say that to you. And the parade, yes, I echo the same sentiments about the parade and the program there at the cemetery. My husband Lafayette is now on the honor guard, and his clothing was not ready. So, but he rode with the guys in the VFW Post 3809, and he's going to be participating in that as a Vietnam veteran. So, and we thank Jerry Lewis for all of her efforts. It was a great first-time parade for her, and the weather was great. The people were out there in numbers. We had a lot of fun, and I think those are all my comments I have. So, yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you. I just have a couple things to mention. Yesterday I attended the Suncoast Community Advisory Panel. Our own Jackie Phillips presented a session on trauma-informed care, which was very enlightening in terms of dealing with some childhood issues that affect many families and many individuals and can really impact their growth. I will be sharing the speaking points as soon as we get those settled from the group, but very good meeting. Also want to compliment folks on a great First Friday. I think this was Mallory's last one as a downtown Middletown director, and it was very successful. The weather was great and great turnout. We hosted some friends from out of the area. One who was a former mayor of a community in Colorado, and he was very impressed with the progress we've made and some of the establishments we've got downtown. So it's always good to see and hear that input from outside. Sometimes I think we lose sight of it when you're opening a number of different places and things like that, we can lose track of it. But that was very good to hear. Also want to congratulate the Bash had a rain out, I know, but they're back at it, the Broad Street Bash. Again, a fun concert series downtown, as well as taking it to the streets. Again, great activities for downtown and really for the whole community. They had a good night for the movie. I did not stay to watch the movie at the behind the Pendleton Friday night, but hopefully great weather for that. And I'll take a minute to wish all the fathers a happy Father's Day. We've got that coming up this month, and certainly a special day for fathers. So, and with that, we can move to our legislation this evening. Ms. Fox?
Good evening, Mayor. There are 4 items of legislation on tonight's agenda, none of which are emergencies. First up is ordinance number O 2017-22. This is an ordinance authorizing a contract with John R. Jurgensen Company to repair concrete. This is part of the 2017 Sidewalk Curb and Gutter Program and is meant to reconstruct and resurface roadways as part of the 2017 Local Street Improvements Program, and this would be declaring an emergency, but no action is requested until June 20th, 2017.
Mr. Atkins?
Yes, Your Honor, this is again Phase 2 of the 2017 Sidewalk Curb and Gutter Program. The map was included in the council packet. 2 contractors submitted a bid. John R. Jurgensen had the lowest and best bid, which was 7% lower than the engineer's estimate, 2% lower than the next bidder. I did send out an email also alerting council that the close to $575,000 from the general fund must be appropriated to allow this to go forward. This will be a carryover until the bonds are issued. It'll come right back to us whenever we anticipate January or February that those bonds will be issued, and it'll come right back into the general fund. But I did want to make you aware that you'll see a drop in the general fund to cover that until the bond funds come back. This is a second reading emergency to allow us to move forward and get the paving done as quickly as possible.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Atkins? All right, thank you.
Up next is ordinance number O 2017-23. This is an ordinance amending section 618.01, which addresses dogs and other animals running at large, and section 618.11, which addresses rabies quarantine of the codified ordinances. This is a first reading.
Your Honor, the Law Department discovered that previous change by the codifiers to our ordinances regarding animals at large has made our current law, our current ordinance, inconsistent with what was originally passed by City Council and also inconsistent with current Ohio Revised Code. These proposed changes will make the Middletown codified ordinances again consistent with the Ohio Revised Code, and will also change the protocol for rabies quarantine to involve the city's health department.
Very good. All right, Ms. Fox, any questions for council or for Mr. Atkins? All right, thank you.
Next up is resolution number R 2017-08. This is a resolution approving and adopting the downtown master plan. This is the first reading.
Your Honor, as you're aware, Mallory was here a while back presenting the downtown master plan for your consideration. You've had a chance to go through it. I think we've gone through and asked for any final concerns and questions, haven't received any others, and at this time we would like you to adopt this as the policy for downtown to be included in the next master plan, and we will ask for your vote on that at the next meeting.
Okay. Any questions or comments for Mr. Atkins?
I have a comment or just something to say, I guess.
Yes,
You know, we do the Derico Community Egg Hunt, and a lot of partners with the city, Miami University, the churches, different people in the community. I was looking at the parks minutes, and in here, they talk about a new master plan is needed for, I guess, for the parks. And in there, it says they would like a fall festival, possibly craft beer festival, and an egg hunt in the park. So I saw that in their minutes, and I thought, you know, this would be a good time to maybe mention about the Derico Egg Hunt. It's for the entire community. Miami University has helped us in the past. They want to be the partner that will host the next one next year in 2018.
Yeah.
I'm happy about that. It's less work for me and my family, that kind of thing. So I don't know if we'd want to kind of let the Parks Department know that that is happening, if they want to get involved. They're more than welcome. The more the merrier. And, you know, I'm getting older, and so my energy level is a little less, you know, involved as I was before, as well as my family. My brother and his wife are not well, so that's why they stopped doing it. But for the interest of the community, I think it would be a great thing to partner with the parks, if that's what they want to do, and they can include this in their master plan. So it's for everyone,
I agree.
yeah.
I will pass that along.
Mr. Atkins,
Yes.
on the downtown master plan, just a general question, assuming that we decide to move forward with it. Is it an endorsement of the 50,000-foot vision? And I ask because I was part of it. It's a wonderful plan. I guess my question is, it gets very specific. These are the type of lights. These are the type of benches. Are we endorsing it down to the nitty-gritty detail, or is it more, this is the overall vision of where we'd like to see go?
The aspiration.
Zoning and planning is going to get into the specifics of,
And you're gonna have to authorize funding for each piece of it, and yeah, each piece of it will come before you individually, and all the way down to discretionary, how much are we gonna put towards downtown next year? Is it, 100,000, is it 20,000, is it 5,000? Those are, because that's gonna, the implementation of that plan is gonna depend on not only, okay, this is what we wanna do, but we're only willing to take 5% of our money to put towards it, or whatever. So, yeah, you will see each piece of that coming before you for consideration.
thank you.
Anything else on the master plan? Okay, thank you. And our last item?
Lastly, this evening, we have resolution number R 2017-09. This is a resolution approving and adopting the What If Visioning Plan. This is also a first reading.
And again, Your Honor, you've had CBI and Middletown come forward and present the What If Visioning Plan that they've spent, I believe, around 9 months putting together. You've had a chance to look at it. We've asked for questions and concerns. I think we've answered everybody's question, and would like to adopt this as the visioning plan to be included in the next master plan. Again, implementation will be by council, both with the details and with how much is done in each area each year according to the budget. But this is kind of, again, that 50,000-foot look down is where we think we want to go as a city.
Okay.
So then this would be verbiage included into the master plan?
Correct.
Verbiage?
These types of, yes, those concepts.
Guiding principles
Guiding,
and,
yeah.
yeah, that's kind of the
Okay.
way I took
Yeah.
it, so it'd be-
Me too.
provide that input. Okay. All right, that takes care of legislation for this evening. So the last item we have is an executive session. So I need a motion and authority of Ohio Revised Code 121.22 G2 to consider the purchase of property for public purposes or for the sale of property at competitive bidding if premature disclosure of information would give an unfair competitive or bargaining advantage.
Second?
Ms. Gank, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Picard,
Yes.
Mayor Mulligan,
Yes.
Ms. Bronston,
Yes.
Mr. Bohannon,
Yes.
Mr. Moon.
Yes.
All right, final executive session will just be in recess to our next meeting on June 20th in these chambers. Thank you all. Have a good evening.
Thank you.